confidence level like heading back home? Obviously, the series doesn't start until the road team.
I love it. I just love playoff basketball. That's the first thing I said when I got in the locker room. Like, you just have to love it, embrace it. There's not many people that get the chance to do what we're doing, play in the highest level of basketball. So compete at the highest level. Don't forget to have fun with it, and just get after it every time we get a chance.
Let's enjoy greatness watching this Joker play. I mean, he ain't flashy. He seems like a great person. I don't know him. I don't think I've ever met him in person before. But, man, just appreciate greatness like we appreciated Steph yesterday and things like that. It's just, I just want to say, man, I love this kid watching him play basketball.
All right, Tom Haberstroh has joined us, and you heard it. You heard Devin Booker talking about playoff basketball. The Suns are down zip 2. They're down to the Denver Nuggets. I don't know. Denver Nuggets finished with the best record in the Western Conference. We talked a lot about the Lakers, Vinnie. We talked a lot about the Warriors and other teams. I haven't talked much about the Denver Nuggets. Not only the team being number one, but Jokic, Tom, on MVP night. Jokic is going to be in the conversation. So as you look at this series and specifically look at this player, what do you see? What do you see from Jokic and the Denver Nuggets now that they're sitting here with a 2-zip series lead over the Suns?
Michael, this dude, Nikola Jokic is that dude, okay? Like, I was going to try to come up with a better way to say that, but he is that dude. He just dropped 39 points in Game 2 against the Phoenix Suns that had every reason to bounce back after what they saw from Jamal Murray and Jamal Murray having an off night, and Nikola Jokic just absolutely took over. He is that dude. In the postseason for his career, he is averaging 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. No other player in NBA history can match those numbers. And we're not even talking about his efficiency, which is probably his best skill out on the floor, is he is that efficient from scoring, from inside the arc, outside the arc, and getting to the free throw line. Putting all that efficiency aside, he is just super in control right now. Watching him play is kind of like, it reminds me, I don't know if you guys have older brothers, but when you played one-on-one with your older brother and he was just bigger than you, stronger than you, and he could always play at a slow pace and just bully you and be in complete control. That's what it's looked like watching Jokic out there, how he is so in control and he's able to kind of be like a puppet master and control the court and just balance everything in a way that gives him the advantage. And this team, the Denver Nuggets, they should be the favorites right now to win it all. But I think we're infatuated with the idea of Steph and LeBron and the Boston Celtics who went there last year. But I don't understand what more this guy needs to do to prove that this team is legit. They won it in the regular season, and he's putting up crazy numbers and carrying this team. He's awesome.
Tom, that was the thing that I was sort of looking at last night when I was watching Boston and Philly, and with Milwaukee out and Memphis and Sacramento out. Not that we ever really believed in them anyway. It really feels like the red carpet is laid out for Denver to really be the overwhelming favorite, not just to get to the finals, but to win it all. And B, just leave it in the micro of this series. Is it 3 versus 2? And I don't mean Kevin Durant and Devin Booker against those 3 dudes. I mean, literally, can Phoenix make enough twos? Because they don't explore to the outside of the mid-range, and Kevin Durant hasn't had a great series so far. But can they make enough twos to offset what Denver does from the outside?
Vinny, it depends on what kind of twos, okay? Because I know that their middies are unbelievable with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul. And who knows what health we're going to see from Chris Paul going forward. But every time they take a midi or they don't take a three-pointer and they settle for a mid-range jumper, they're letting Jokic off the hook. They're letting that defense off the hook. We know that he is not an elite rim protector, and they should be exploiting that time and time again. Like this, remember what the Spurs did to Jokic in the regular season? The Spurs did to him in the regular season, and yet in this series, it seems like the Phoenix Suns, Monty Williams, their game plan is to try to hit shots from around the perimeter inside the three-point line. And KD had a rough night from beyond the arc. The whole team seems to have been, getting the yips from beyond the arc in this series. But my problem, Vinny, is they're letting Jokic off the hook and not exploiting that weakness. And that's the only way they're going to get back in this series, by attacking the paint, attacking the rim, and not settling for jumpers. And I sound like an old head right now, say, hey, we got to attack the rim, get to the free throw line, put pressure on that defense. But that is what they need to do against Jokic, because that is their weakness. Defensively, they don't have the size up front to contend and be the kind of rim protector they need to make the long run in the playoffs. And yet the Phoenix Suns, their blueprint is to just, hey, we're going to settle.
You know what, Vinny, I'm going to take this. I'm going to give you like a hockey assist. And you just get going. You can give it to Stroh from here. But you were saying something earlier. I told you I wanted to come back to this MVP conversation. And you mentioned guards and MVPs. And the last time we had a guard win an MVP, it is MVP night. And maybe we're changing the way we look at most valuable. I just want you to just continue that point and get Stroh involved in this too, because I'm just fascinated by where you were starting to go with it.
Well, Tom, the point that I brought up was there was a run on guard. You had Steph winning 2 in a row, then you had Russ, then you had Harden. Maybe it's cyclical. But Harden was the last guard to win MVP in 2018. Since then, you've had Giannis win 2, Jokic win 2, and looks like Embiid to win tonight. Is this something cyclical, or do we think that bigs are starting to, or versatile bigs, because all 3 bigs are kind of sort of different in their own way, or is versatile bigs starting to take the mantle in what we will consider to be basketball's highest honor, or just overall basketball excellence?
I think a lot of it is the health of those guards. You look at Harden, you look at Russ, you look at Steph, they're getting up there in age. And I think physically, it's hard to be MVP caliber multiple years in a row and still play at a high level at that size. We've seen it from Steph getting injured the past few years. James Harden, he can be that guy that we saw on Monday night every once in a while, but to ask him to do it for 82 games, that's a difficult prospect. So the bigs, they can be, 60 games and be effective on both ends of the floor. And I think we're seeing that in today's NBA. I think defense is becoming more part of the equation, and we know that Damian can shoot. We know that Steph can shoot, but I think now that analytics are becoming more in vogue, I think the defensive side of the ball is becoming more valued, and why you're seeing Giannis and you're seeing Embiid get the MVPs. Jokic is a different story, but I do think that over 82 games, it's those bigs that can have an imprint on both sides of the floor, and the fact that those guys, those guards, are just getting up there in age. And I think it's just the younger generation, Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, simply happen to be bigs.
All right. Well, who'd y'all vote for and who's going to win it?
Well, we know who's going to win it. We know it's Joel Embiid. Like, the NBA put out that statement that they're going to do the announcement on Tuesday night after they were coming back to Phoenix after Denver had 2 games on their home floor. We know that Embiid is going to get that MVP. We also know, because there's this dude named Max Crows, the NBA MVP tracker guy, who literally scans all of the podcast materials, all of the columns, all of the tweets, and tallies up the votes. And we already know that Embiid has like 35 votes for first place, and the next highest guy, I think it's Jokic, has like 8. So he's basically outpacing the next highest guy by like 3 or 4 votes. So we know who's going to win based on the NBA announcement, and that dude, Max Crows, who was on Basketball Illuminati a couple weeks ago, and it was like, there's a guy who's just like gumshoe detective on all these votes. Me personally, I would have voted for Jokic. I didn't have an MVP vote this year. I would have gone for Jokic, and Embiid, I think, had a really strong finish to the season, but I believe that all 82 games matter. And I think when you look at the NBA season, recency bias did play into a part. And I do think that Jokic had the better season, better team. And we're seeing right now, Jokic is that dude.
It took me a minute that was the last vote that I had made on my ballot. And I was this close to putting in Giannis. I was this close to putting in Giannis as the most irresistible two-way force in basketball, and he might have been derped. had he won the MVP this year. He would have been accepting the award, looking very sad and everything else. I wound up voting for Joel Embiid because there's something to going for the award. And I felt like Embiid went for MVP in the last 6 weeks. He may be paying the bill for that right now. Let's be clear.
Right.
But I feel like he went for the award.
All right. So I have a hard time believing, and it's so dangerous. We all know this as journalists. We should not be playing doctors on TV, but I'm going to do it anyway. I have a hard time believing he's going to play in this series and be effective. He's either going to play in the series and be 60% of himself, or he won't play just because of the schedule. I'm just putting these things together. You want to talk about gumshoe detective, Stro. Doc Rivers says he hasn't practiced. So Joel Embiid hasn't practiced. They asked him yesterday. No, he hasn't practiced. So there was a game yesterday. We'll see what happens on Wednesday. Well, he's not going to practice. You're not going to practice him on Tuesday, are you? Are you? And if you do, okay, you play every other day, and you got a guy with a bum knee who hasn't practiced. How do you think that's going to turn out? He may come back and may go right back to the bench. I just think it's going to be we'll be celebrating that MVP. He'll be giving his press conference. You want to talk about looking sad. He won't be looking sad because they were eliminated in the first round. He'll be looking sad because I just don't think he's going to be a big part of the series. What do you guys think?
Well, Vinny, I was going to ask you, what's more important to you, getting that win or buying a game that Joel Embiid can rest for a game 2? Because to me, getting Embiid to rest for game 2 and extending that series or extending that layoff is actually more important to their ability to winning this series and getting him back fully healthy, or as healthy as he possibly can be. And let's just make this straight. Ever since LeBron James played in the NBA Finals with a broken hand, or what he called basically a broken hand, all these injury reports are useless. We saw De'Aaron Fox doubtful for that game against the Golden State Warriors with a fractured finger, and he looked fine out there. And Jimmy Butler, who knows what's going to happen, but listing as doubtful, man, I am so skeptical at these designations now going forward. I know what Doc Rivers said about Embiid, I'm so skeptical about these injury reports.
See, I think it's the other way, though. I really think it's the other way. Vinny, before you answer, I'm just going to say, I've seen Doc do this before. I saw Doc do this with Kevin Garnett back in the day. Hey, KG, the knees getting... KG didn't play at all in the playoffs. He just kept stringing it along. He didn't want to say he was out for the playoffs. I think I think Embiid is closer to sitting than he is to playing. That's just...
Oh, I don't think...
maybe I'm being a little too skeptical, but I don't see it.
I don't trust the law firm of Doc and Darryl. I'll just say that much. If there are two guys who may engage in media subterfuge, it would be Doc Rivers, who I genuinely like, and Daryl Morey, who might not like me. But I do think, Tom, getting that game 1 win lessens the dependency on bringing Embiid back. Just like getting that game 1 win for the Heat lessens the dependency on Jimmy Butler to play tonight, and you stretch that out to the weekend. There's no way in hell you're going to keep Joel Embiid off the floor when he can hoist that MVP trophy up with those mean Philadelphia fans finally giving them something to cheer about. He's going to play in one of those games this weekend. I can almost damn near guarantee you that.
Wow. All right. So did we miss anything in the MVP conversation with regard to, if not Giannis or Steph or anybody else? Was it just a matter of games, not playing in the games? Look, I see that look on your face, Stro. What is it?
I'm just imagining
You've
the
heard
Nike
this too
campaign.
much from people.
I'm imagining the Nike campaign if Giannis won MVP with the Dirk Nowitzki at home without being in the playoffs, what Nike would come up with as the tagline there, because we already saw it. They're already running a social media campaign, always forward or something like that, based on Giannis's post-game speech. I just can't even fathom what kind of spin they would have about Giannis winning the MVP when he got ousted in the first round, 8-1 in 5 games. I can't even fathom what that kind of spin would be.
Failure is not an option because there is no failure.
Thank you.
I hate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. And real quick, since you guys already mentioned it, Harden last night, his 45 points, but I didn't give it enough attention last night. when I heard Jaylen Brown say we weren't prepared, Malcolm Brogdon saying today that we doubled too much. Look, Ime Udoka was shamed away from the Boston Celtics, but is coaching an issue for the Celtics going forward? This is where the coaching really goes up, and every round of the playoffs, coaching gets more complex and sophisticated too. Is that something the Celtics have to look out for?
Yeah, man, I'm looking at that switch, Al Horford going on James Harden. Think about the coaching, too. We're talking about last year, who was the defensive player of the year, or the so-called defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart. And they're switching off of James Harden and putting Al Horford, who's 93 years old, onto James Harden. I mean, that, to me, is a huge mistake, a coaching mistake. And it's either one or two things. They don't believe that Marcus Smart is the best defender on the team, which I believe is to be false. Like last year when he was defensive player of the year, I was like, I think Derek White is a better defender. I think Robert Williams III is a better defender. I didn't think he should have won defensive player of the year. I think the vote should have gone to Robert Williams. And then we're looking at that switch off and the fact that they're chirping about game plan and preparation. And to me, remember, Vinnie and Michael, remember last year when Marcus Smart early in the season was talking about, hey, we need to pass the ball and move the ball more. We need to have these guys actually share the ball. And it was a shot directly at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I feel like the opposite is the case now. It's playing hot potato down the stretch. They don't know who wants to take the shot. And so to me, It's gone the other way on the pendulum, where now they're scared to shoot the ball and they don't have confidence in each other. One of the big reasons why I think Denver should be the favorite to win it all is because I think Boston, they're giving it up right now.
Boston can't be trusted.
Oh, see,
no,
he ain't talking about themselves. But see, you know what, Stroh, he's not talking about the Celtics. He's talking about Boston in general. This is like some Boston hatred. They said from the guy with the Detroit sweatshirt on.
That's not true.
All right, Stroh, appreciate you, man. We'll catch up with you.
Anytime.
Appreciate you, Stroh.
Thanks, Gary. Have a good one.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.